Today, we're speaking with Natalie Ravenscroft from NAPA about how activities can be made dementia-friendly. And Natalie, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Could you introduce yourself to us a little bit?
Thank you, Rosie, for inviting me. As you mentioned, my name is Natalie Ravenscroft, and I am the Services Manager here at the National Activity Providers Association, often referred to as NAPA. Before moving into this role, I worked as an activity provider for 18 years. So I've seen firsthand how much a difference meaningful engagement can make to someone's life. And I'm really passionate about ensuring that every single person, no matter their age or ability, has the opportunities every single day to feel joy, connection, and purpose.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what NAPA is and what it's actually sort of working towards? What are its aims as an organisation?
Yeah, certainly. So for those listening or watching, we are a charity. We're a charity that champions activity and engagement across the sector. And not many people realise we're a charity. Historically, we have provided resources to encourage activity providers to become involved in meaningful occupation. But we are a charity and we support activity providers, including their teams, so whether that's maintenance or housekeeping, through training, membership, resources, research, impact, and also the National Day of Arts in Care Homes. So we aim to raise the profile of activity provision as a valued and professional career. And what we're working towards is a future where meaningful engagement is seen as an essential, not as optional, where social and definitely emotional, creative well-being of individuals that are living in care services are held in equal regard to physical health. So for example, through NAPA's standards, quality standards, as a national campaign like Arts in Care Homes, we're thinking and making sure that providers have the tools and the confidence and competence to be able to support individuals how they choose to live their life.
And why is it that you think activities are so important?
Well, a question that I probably get asked quite a lot, particularly through our support services, is why is it important? What's the meaning behind it? And that's what we try and support through the training that we offer. That bringing meaningful connection to everyday life is not just about filling time. I think we've gone past the point now where activities are just on a timetable and that's the way it is. It's absolutely not. And we're so pleased that the sector is starting to realise that it's about 24/7 support for people to have engagement and enablement. For example, sharing a cup of tea while reminiscing about childhood memories or about people's gardens can be just as valuable as running a huge fete or big baking session. So it's about engagement and enablement, and activities help people to maintain their identity and certainly their sense of purpose. I mean, getting up every day and living in a service in a community environment, you need a reason, So whether it's just gardening, singing along, or something as simple as supporting with daily living skills, all of those matter, really.
I can totally see how activities can be a really important way for people to connect with who they are, especially if they're in a care environment where they're a bit detached from that and detached from sort of an environment that they're used to. And when I films, we work a lot with people living with dementia. How can we make activities dementia-friendly?
Well, dementia-friendly activities start with the person. So we actively promote here at NAPA the use of life stories. And when we talk about life stories, we're not talking about just filling a booklet when someone moves into the service. Absolutely not. People's life stories develop as that relationship with that individual develops. So, might be multiple people feeding into that life story over the period of time that the person is supported by you. And it's tailoring to their abilities and their preferences. So removing barriers, I think, is really important. Because we're very caring, we're very quick to wrap people up in cotton wool, but absolutely not. People still should have choices and should be allowed to express their choices. For example, if someone loved gardening, for example, but now finds bedding plants difficult, we might flip that and use herbs, for a sensory engagement opportunity. There was a very famous lady who once said to me that everyone could garden, and I disagreed. I said, well, what about people, that are receiving palliative care support? And she said, Natalie, even crushing a lavender head in someone's hand and letting them feel the texture and experience the smell of the lavender is still gardening. Being dementia friendly is not about making things over vibrant or over stimulating. It's about really breaking it down. What does it mean to that individual? How do they feel a sense of belonging? How can they see their identity? How do they feel supported to continue with the life choices that they choose to have? And it's just simplifying things without taking it away. It's adapting so that person feels successful, even if it isn't the outcome that you expected.
I know there's a lot of debate within care homes around sort of the role of TV, and there's some sort of controversy there as well. I'm going to put this question to you: is watching TV an activity?
Absolutely, depending on the person. So we go back to that life story, and we go back to individualized activity programs. So we do have, and we do encourage, communal activity programs that gets people coming together in a communal space. But when we also pull back to being person-centered, being individually led is really important. So TV absolutely is a wonderful tool when used with purpose. So yes, I often have these conversations through the sports service around, people just watching TV, but is that what they want to do? So, for example, my nan, she literally loves watching TV. She marks off what she's watching. And quite often, it's a bit of a joke within the family. We go to see her and take her out for the day, and she'll be like, I'll have to be back at 2 o'clock because my program's on. So, for her, if it was her care plan, her activity, individualized activity program plan, watching TV would be part of her activity program. But also, rewatching films that people love or enjoying seasonal programs, for example, like we're coming up to the festive season, and there'll be rerun programs like Morecambe and Wise that spark memories, or there'll be Christmas specials. Previous game shows me and my husband ourselves, we always watch Bullseye because we love it. We remember it as children. It's what our parents watched, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we still never get the answers right. But also on the flip side of that, I've been privileged to have TV programs playing, for example, the soaps, which are really great for conversation starters, believe it or not, where people have been in support of palliative care and they've been making their funeral decisions, what they want to do as they're actively dying. And it sparked conversation up within the room with the ladies. I don't want to be cremated. And that is gold for me because that conversation leads into their life story. So we can add that into their wishes without sitting down and saying, which is very challenging for care teams to fill out that part in the care plan as what people's wishes are. So there's lots of reasons that we can utilize TV without it just being the fact that the perception is everyone sat around the TV in a circle, that kind of those institutional approach. And if you can evidence that Jean, Mary, Risa and Aisha are all sat around the TV watching a Wimbledon or the Jubilee or something like that, is because that relates to their life story, then that is their activity.
You've spoken really eloquently there about the way that TV can be used to help reminiscence and to prompt conversation. And as you say, actually prompts some really difficult conversations that people don't normally, or most people often don't necessarily like to engage with necessarily. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Are there other ways that TV can be used to support activities with people living with dementia?
Everything that you can think of around TV can be utilized in an activity. So, even like a quiz show, for example, we're all competitive in some kind of context. So it absolutely transforms something in terms of engagement. And I think that's what's key. You can use a TV to engage with people. And I think if we can change that thought process, actually TV is kind of a tool that's used as something that's just blaring in the corner of the room, that's just cancelling out noise. Absolutely not. It's a missed opportunity. We'd love to see where it plays a more active role, particularly for people that are cared for in bed or cared for in their rooms. So the difference being people cared for in the rooms actively choose to stay in their rooms. They could leave and come in the communal areas, but they choose to stay in their rooms. But whereas people that are cared for in bed, we're getting to the point where people are starting to understand that it's not best practice just to turn the TV on for someone that's cared for in bed or turn the radio on. It's about making sure that is a structured day and that we're not just playing movies over again or just leaving ITV on, 24/7, that actually we have a playlist, same as we would do for MP3 players or for a person's musical playlist.
Yeah. So it's really trying to think about ways that we can make the use of TV intentional,
Yeah.
person-centered, and using it in a way that promotes engagement and interactivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your discussion of quizzes made me think of some of the content that we've got on the platform. We've got lots of these dementia-friendly quizzes where there's lots of extra prompts and perhaps even just stay on the screen for a little bit longer. We've got this musical instruments quiz where you've got the image and then you also have a bit of a cue of some of the sound of the instrument as well. So really trying to kind of have these multi-sensory prompts to help people facilitate in an activity that perhaps they've been doing for years. Maybe they've always been doing pub quizzes and just trying to kind of enable a continuity in activities across people's lives.
And I think that, Rosie, that's a really good point to pull on regarding the quizzes. I think when we say the word quiz, activity providers instantly think that we should be doing general knowledge pub quizzes. And for people living with dementia, if they're living with early stage diagnosis of dementia, then absolutely, you know, they want to be challenged and kept active. But if you're supporting someone that's moving more towards later stage dementia or even middle, we need to think about simplifying the quizzes. It's not about what year did England win the World Cup 1966. You know, you're not looking for them answers. You want to keep it really simple. It's this or that. It's one or the other. And it doesn't matter if they get it wrong, but you just give a two-choice option. And absolutely, the quizzes that you provide are perfect for that.
And what concerns do you think that care staff might have around the use of TV?
I think it goes back to that. The TV is passive, isn't it? When it's used intentionally, then I think the staff will start to understand that actually it's a tool. It enables connection. So again, then words engagement and enablement are really key to helping the staff understand that what the purpose is of the TV, and not that it's just there in the corner of the room.
What role do you think TV currently plays in care settings, and what role do you think it could play? And what role would you like to see it play?
Often in my services as an AP, I would have documentaries. I would have reminiscence, so it'd be old TV, you know, older TV shows. We would have walks in the park. So the actual communal TV, unless a group of people particularly wanted to watch something like Wimbledon, for example, but even that would be filtered into the TV planner. It saves a lot of, I suppose, I wouldn't say arguments, but conversations that, you know, I want to watch this, I don't want to watch that. So if it's structured almost like a cinema, almost, if you want to think of it like that, I think that's the missed opportunity. I'd love to see it play more of an active role with chosen interests. And again, as an AP, conducting your activity meetings that are separate from your residents should really be about what do we want to, you know, here's some ideas that we can play on the TV this month. Is there anything that stands out? So you've really got that core collaborative approach around your activity programs, which is something that inspectors are really, you know, homing in on at the moment, is being led by the residents. So covering their my statements, you know, I feel that I can watch what I'm interested in is really key. And I think we'll see more of that over the next couple of years.
We've spoken a lot about kind of care settings, but do you have any thoughts about sort of how families might be able to use TV to support activities?
Yeah, absolutely. Meaningful engagement is something that we have been focusing on here at NAPA since post the pandemic, and how we can encourage families to be more engaged when they're visiting loved ones. So, for example, TV is a great natural way to connect for families. So whether that's watching soaps together or chatting about characters, it could also be about bringing DVDs in. And I say DVDs, even though we have a multitude of things across TVs now. But, you know, having that connection of old family videos, for example, or movies that they used to watch, and also leading into cultural connection as well. You know, TV can be used with families that maybe their first language isn't English. Maybe there are some festive films that they like to watch, or movies that are not generally played on the TV as a norm, I will say. But, you know, it's about families feeling secure in understanding that them watching TV with their loved one, however they choose to do that together, is actually an activity, is actually engagement. So I think we need to give families the confidence that they're still sharing that experience, that they're still creating their movements, and that they're not, oh, I've just come in today and sat down with my husband and I'm, you know, or my wife, and I'm just watching TV with them, and that's all we've done all day. People can sit in silence and enjoy. Think to yourself as a listener or as a watcher, Think to yourself, how many times do you sit in a cinema or how many times do you sit in a room and you don't actively maybe talk for films or programs, or then you might start chatting and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened, or that frightened the life out of me. We're still it's about engagement. That's what it all comes down to. And the TV is a great tool for that.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's been so interesting hearing your perspective and hearing a bit more about Napa. And as you say, the way that TV can be used as an activity and TV watching is an activity, as long as it's intentional and as long as it's promoting engagement and as long as it's responsive to what people actually want to watch and want to do. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been so interesting. Thank you everyone for listening. That was Natalie Ravenscroft from Napa, talking about how activities can be made dementia friendly.